but I just want to welcome everybody to this next installment of Healthy at Home workshops. This is a free online educational series. It's all designed to help people thrive at home, living more safely, more comfortably, more productively, more joyfully. And this particular session, which is the fourth in our series, is not so much about home. It's about figuring out what to do when your home is not a perfect fit or no longer a fit. And, what are your options then? And super excited to talk about community living and to welcome our guests here today. And I'm going to introduce Juliane and Helen in 1 second. First, I do want to introduce myself to everybody. Again, my name is Jonathan Denholtz, and I run an organization called Aya Places. And we have partnered with the good people at Bigelow, formerly known as Whistle Stop, to develop and produce this online educational series. And so I'm here to kind of introduce guests, to help field questions from the audience, and in general to try to help make sure that things run relatively smoothly. Two things that I want to remind everybody about who's here. This session is interactive, no formalities needed here. If you have a question, please feel free to ask it at any time. There's a Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window, and you can click on that button. It says Q&A, and type in your question. We might wait to answer that question until the end of the presentation during a Q&A session, but I promise we will get to it before the end of the hour. And the second thing I want to mention is if you have any feedback whatsoever on the webinar, how it's working for you, some advice or feedback or any random thoughts, please feel free to share in the chat. This series is for you guys, the attendees, and so we want to make it as helpful and informational and as engaging and fun as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Juliane and Helen, Juliane Bigelow and Helen Lindberg, who are principals at CareQuest, which is one of the longest senior living placement agencies in the Bay Area. You guys have been working for, I hate to share this with everybody, but this is you're well into your third decade working with seniors and helping figure out the right place and the right fit for individuals and their families. And you guys have really been pioneers in this field and in particular in the Bay Area. So I'm super excited that you guys are here to share and to tell us what you know and how we might kind of think about community living options for ourselves and our loved ones moving forward. With that, Helen, Juliane, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. You're welcome. Would you like me to share now?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and share your screen and you guys could introduce yourselves, and I'll turn off my camera, but I'll chime in and pop back in periodically.
Okay. Everybody seeing that now?
Perfect.
Great. Okay. So hello and welcome. Thank you, Jonathan. I'm Helen and I have been with CareQuest since 2014. CareQuest is technically referred to as a senior placement service. However, when we are helping people, we do so much more. We help seniors and their families find supportive living environments, but more importantly, we drop into their lives at very unique times of transition. Usually something's happened to initiate the call, and we help families through the process, which includes so much more than simply finding a place to live. We'll touch more on this as we move forward, but right now we'd like to know more about you. Oops, wait a minute, let me get that. Okay. Oh, heck. You know what I'm gonna have to do? Hold on.
So I just launched a little poll.
Hold
Is that
on.
okay, Helen?
Yeah, but you know what? Hold on, I'm having a problem with my launching my, hold on. Try and get my screen to go, sorry.
No worries. Well, I've launched a poll for people who are in the session. They can see the poll and they should be able to.
Let's get this down. Hold on. I'm not sure why I'm having a hard time getting the pages to go. page. Try this again. Hold on.
Do you want to open your, is it on a PowerPoint presentation or is it on
No,
a
it's actually just a
PDF?
PDF. I have,
Okay.
fine, just do this. See that. Okay, there we go.
Okay,
There we
cool.
go.
All right.
Just had to relaunch, sorry. Okay. So who are you or who are you here for? We'd like to know if you signed up today to get information about you, yourself, or someone else. Jonathan put this up, and if you could find yourself here, if it's you, a spouse, a parent, or a friend, just check off that, whichever one is applicable. And hopefully this information will be helpful as we move forward through the presentation. So why don't you go ahead and fill that out, and as you're doing that, I'll move on. So right now I'd like to, let me get this full. There you go. Let me move on, and right now I'd like to introduce Juliane, who started CareQuest over 20 years ago.
Thank you, Helen. So I'm Juliane Bigelow, and I founded CareQuest in 1997 after a 7-year career as a physical therapist treating patients in hospitals and skilled nursing facilities. CareQuest is one of the first placement agencies in the Bay Area, born with a mission to educate families and educate clients and their families about the landscape of assisted care options as they relate to the client's cognitive status, care requirements, safety concerns, and mobility. I've spent decades advocating for elders and their families. I've built a trusted network since 1990, which is now robust with experienced, well-respected colleagues and professionals in the field of aging. The CareQuest team supports Contra Costa and Alameda counties with offices in Walnut Creek and Oakland. Helen, do you want to put that picture up so people can?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having more technical difficulty. Sorry.
I want to also introduce Megan Molo, who's joined the CareQuest team as a clinical coordinator in 2019. She holds a master's degree in healthcare administration and got her bachelor's in community health sciences with minors in gerontology and business administration. Megan has experience working in skilled nursing facilities, helping families navigate through both the admission process as well as the discharge planning process. Helen, since you're here, I'm going to have you introduce yourself.
You know what, I can't move through my document. I'm so sorry.
Maybe we should take the poll off. Oh, there we go.
All right.
Let's.
Okay, so take the poll off. Yeah, thank you.
Or move it so that you can see that.
There you go. So this is who we are. Megan is in the middle. Juliane's on your right. And okay, why is this keep coming up? Okay, and I am on the left. So, so I met Juliane when my mother was first diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. And at the end, at that time, my focus was on life enrichment activities and exercise with elders. Juliane and I have different backgrounds, but during the time that we collaborated on helping my mother transition from independent living to assisted living and memory care, we quickly found out that our values and how we work with our families were in alignment. Because of the lessons I learned during my mother's journey with dementia, I feel I contribute a personal perspective and empathy to our process. And I was thrilled when Juliane suggested I represent CareQuest in Alameda County. And I'm honored to be part of the team and to help the families we help every day. So that's about us. Now back to you. Now, and I hope I can keep moving through this. Jonathan, tell us about the survey. How many people are here for themselves or others?
Sure. About half the people are here for themselves, and about half the people are here for their parents.
Oh, well, that's good information. Okay,
Nice.
so we'll keep that in mind as we move forward. And just know if you have any questions afterwards, we'd be happy to answer them. Okay, so what I love so much about what we do is that when the phone rings, I never know, and we never know who's going to be on the other end, and the stories we're going to hear, or the unique situations people will be in. Sometimes people call and they're just curious about community options. Some people call because they're tired of living alone, or the upkeep of their home is just overwhelming. Perhaps they're experiencing some vision loss and they're looking for a more supportive environment so they can actually live more independently. Or maybe they're just tired of cooking. But sometimes when the phone rings, there's something more serious that's happened. And usually it's a health crisis has taken place, and it's unsafe or unreasonable financially to live alone. Okay, and this is, here, I'm gonna just have to scroll. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you the question, what if? What if something happened to you or a loved one? Perhaps a fall, an event such as a stroke, unexpected surgery, or a possible diagnosis. If there was a possibility that it was unsafe for you to go home, what would you do? So when there is a crisis, decisions need to be made under pressure, and FUD sets in, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And when it kicks in, it's no fun. And if you're looking at a discharge date from either the hospital or a skilled nursing facility, decisions become time sensitive and fewer options might be available. What we find too is that for the person who is needing the care, other people make decisions for you. Unfortunately, people wait too long and find themselves having to make decisions while they're looking at a looming discharge date. And many times they are unaware of what their options are. Because of the steep learning curve and limited time, they feel less in control. And unfortunately, the result of all of this is it's a missed opportunity for empowerment. So when we're in this situation where there's no crisis, we consider this an opportunity to learn more and understand the landscape of options for you out there, to either start a conversation or continue one with your family and your supportive network, and then to expand that network out into the community and really find resources that are helpful for you now and in the future. The whole idea is to be prepared before something happens.
Okay, I'm going to talk about understanding the landscape of senior living environments. And if you're going to take notes, this is a good section to take notes on. There's a lot of information here. And it may seem a little overwhelming, but this is where Helen and I help people when they call us, and when we talk to them, we bring this down into smaller chunks and do the education as we go. But I'm going to take a stab at kind of covering globally what the landscape looks like for options outside of the home for seniors. The first option I'm going to talk about is a residential care facility for the elderly. I'm going to refer to them as RCFEs, and they are licensed as non-medical entities. They include assisted living, memory care, and board and care. In all of these models, rent is month to month with a 30-day notice to leave. I'm going to start off with the assisted living communities. These are communities that are licensed from approximately 60 to 150 people. Helen's showing you some pictures of what an assisted living looks like. You have your own apartment with a full private bathroom and a kitchenette. The style of the apartment is either a studio, a one-bedroom, or two-bedroom. The apartment leads to internal hallways, which go to the common areas of the building, including the entrance, the dining room, activity and exercise rooms, and outdoor space. They offer full dining, so that's 3 meals a day. Because they offer 3 meals a day, the apartments have kitchenettes versus a full kitchen. They have a robust activity program. These communities have book clubs and exercise classes and bridge and mahjong groups. They have movies, and many of them have dedicated movie theaters. They do provide transportation, so they'll take residents to doctor's appointments, stores, church runs on Sunday. They go on outings to restaurants, museums, and theaters as well. They provide weekly housekeeping service. They provide laundry service, so they'll launder all of your clothing and linens, or if you choose to do that in an assisted living, that's not a problem because laundry facilities are available. They also provide personal care. Care is provided according to a care plan that they develop for those needing personal care in areas such as bathing, dressing, grooming, hygiene, getting to meals, managing medications, whatever is needed. I'm going to go through the pros and cons of assisted living. The pros of assisted living is that you got socialization, 24-hour care at your fingertips. It's way less expensive than 24-hour care at home. There's a lot of food choice and variety with each meal, and there's no need for cooking. The activities, with the activity programs, you have the access to live music, brain fitness, physical fitness, art, conversation, and clubs. Care is offered if you need it, but you only pay for the care that you need. There's a lot of internal area to walk to stay fit, especially in inclement weather. They have nurses on staff, and I just want to make a note that pets are welcome. Many people live independently in assisted living. If you don't need care, you don't pay for it. But if you do need help, then the model of care is much less expensive than in-home care. The cons of assisted living are that if you need a lot of care, you start to need a lot of help, it can get pricey, it can get very expensive. Also, if you're a high fall risk, there may not be enough oversight. I want to talk about respite programs in assisted living because they've become much more popular in the last 5 years. Assisted livings do a short-term stay called a respite stay. What we find is that people enter the hospital system, they go through rehab, but once they're done with rehab, they feel like they're not ready to go home. And instead of private paying in a skilled nursing facility, they'll go to a respite program in an assisted living where they can stay for 30 to 60 days, get their confidence and strength back, and then return home. So respite is usually a 30-day minimum stay. They provide a furnished apartment, and they do provide care if needed. They charge a daily rate instead of a monthly rate. And these communities have the same admission requirements by the state for a long-term resident. And so that's why most of them will not do less than a 30-day stay. Okay, I'm going to move on to memory care. Memory care is a smaller community, usually licensed between 15 and 40 people. They are either embedded within assisted living communities, sort of a separate section, or they're freestanding communities that specialize in caring for individuals with cognitive impairment that can't be managed in assisted living. Care and activities are specialized to care for people who need more direction and assistance to get through the day and the night. The pros for memory care are that they're secure. They're safe for somebody who may be a wander risk. There's a lot of engagement and socialization along with care and comfort. The staff are trained to deal with individuals who have memory impairment, and activities are specific and geared to be successful for the resident population. The cons for memory care are that if you're a high fall risk, there may not be enough oversight. If you're somebody who does better in a quiet environment, there may be too much stimulation. And they can be pricey, especially if you want a private room. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the smaller care homes called board and care homes. These homes are licensed exactly the same as assisted living and memory care communities. They're just residential homes that are embedded within our communities that provide care for 6 individuals, and usually they have 2 caregivers on staff. It's a more intimate environment with care closer at hand, where residents' needs can be met more readily. The upside of a board and care is that it is intimate and small. You don't have to get dressed up to go to meals. Care is closer at hand, and there's often a line of sight between the caregiver and the resident. They're very family-oriented. They have stable staff. and they can be less expensive than assisted living for somebody who needs a lot of help. The downside of a board and care is that there is less activity than assisted living. Meals are family style, so there's not as much food choice. You only have 5 other people to engage with, and there's not always an alert group of people. Many residents have cognitive impairment or need a lot of help to get through the day. The other thing about board and care is they are not good for somebody who is exit seeking. These homes have alarms on the doors, but they are not secure like memory care. Okay, let's move on to independent living. Independent living is not licensed as an RCFE. They are independent living communities, apartment living for seniors, and the size is anywhere between 100 and 200 apartments. Usually they do provide a meal plan. It's not 3 meals a day. It's usually 1 to 2 meals a day. And so the apartments do have full kitchens. Like assisted living, they provide activities, transportation, and housekeeping. You do your own laundry in independent living, and the laundry is either en suite or their laundry facilities located within the community. You should be independent to consider independent living. If you need help, you would need to private hire from an outside agency, just like you would at home. And these agencies are running $30+ an hour, and many of them have 4-hour minimums. The pros for independent living is that you might find a higher functioning, more alert group of residents. Apartments have full kitchens for those who still want to cook. And they do have a 24-hour concierge front desk service. The cons for independent living is that you do have to hire help through an outside agency if you do need help, making the cost of care more expensive. So the next type of community I want to cover is called a CCRC, or a continuing care retirement community. As you can see in the picture in the top left of the screen, these are sprawling, very, very large communities. You are buying into a lifestyle, so it's harder to get out of if you're not satisfied. They require a significant buy-in fee, anywhere from $250,000 to $1 million+. In addition to that buy-in fee, there is a month-to-month cost as well that's established upon move-in. They have a tiered approach to aging and living. You must start off independent, and then you can move through the system as needed. So from independent living to assisted living to memory care. So they do have RCFEs embedded within them. And they also, in many cases, have a skilled nursing facility, which can be used for short-term rehab or long-term care if needed. The pros for CCRC is that they offer a continuum of care. They're large communities with a variety of living arrangements, from small homes to apartment-style living. They have on-site rehab, and you don't have to move out when you start to need help. The downside of a CCRC is that it's difficult to get out of if you're not happy or your needs change. It's a very expensive upfront fee, which takes assets, and you need to make sure that you can afford the monthly fees going forward. The other thing about a CCRC is that they won't accept you if you're not completely independent when you move in. Okay, moving on to skilled nursing facilities. These are medical models, and they're mostly used for short-term rehabilitation post-hospitalization. They do offer some long-term care, which is called custodial care. Most of the long-term care in skilled nursing is provided for individuals on Medi-Cal or state assistance who can't otherwise afford the private funding of an RCFE. The pros for skilled nursing is that it is great for short-term rehab, post-hospitalization. The cons for skilled nursing is that it is more institutional, and it's not great for maximizing quality of life when it comes to long-term living. Also, rehab stays are not that long. Insurance may cut people off before they feel ready to go, forcing quick decisions about next steps. I just want to make a note about hospice. It's not part of this talk, but I wanted to let everybody know that hospice services can be provided in all of these settings discussed. So hospice service can go to your own home. It can go to a CCRC. They can go to a memory care, a board and care, or assisted living. So they're welcome everywhere. Let's talk about RCFEs and what you need to know to move in. So this is for assisted living, memory care, and board and care. RCFEs require a deposit or a community fee. The community fee is generally somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000. It's prorated over the first 90 days if somebody doesn't stay or it's not a good fit. But otherwise, the community fee is used to maintain the activities budget, the transportation van, the common areas, etc. Once you do make your deposit, then you need to get a physician's report filled out by your primary doctor. And as part of this physician's report, you need to have a tuberculosis screening. The community does an assessment of you to determine care needs if needed. And when they do their assessment, it's usually their nurse who does the assessment. She looks at the physician's report, she talks to you. You guys decide what care is needed based on all the factors involved, and then they come up with a care plan, and then there's a cost associated with that on the month-to-month basis on top of the rent. So once all that's established, we all need to get a COVID test to move into assisted living, and most communities are wanting an admission within 72 hours of that negative result coming back. So that's something that's done right before move-in. Rent is month to month. You furnish your own apartment, so you really make it your own home. And the notice to leave, again, is 30 days in the RCFE model. Okay, who pays for it? Well, not Medicare. A lot of people think Medicare pays for long-term care, but it does not. Medicare does pay for acute hospitalization and short-term rehab post-hospitalization. But once you're discharged from rehab, whether you stay privately in skilled nursing for a while, or you do a respite program, or you go home, or you move into assisted living, we pay for that. We all pay for that. People use their pensions, they use their Social Security, they use the assets they have, and sometimes they use the proceeds from their home. Long-term care insurance will help cover assisted living or board and care or memory care and skilled nursing if needed. But you must have a care need in order for that to kick in. So if you're living in independent living or assisted living independently, in other words, you don't need any caregivers to come in and help you with anything, then your long-term care insurance won't kick in until you do need caregivers coming in to support you. Another funding source can be through the Veterans Aid and Attendance Program. This is for veterans, and it's also for spouses of veterans. And the best way to get more information on this program is to contact your local Veterans Service branch. I just wanted to make a note about Medi-Cal. When people do run out of money, Medi-Cal provides state assistance for those who can't privately fund outside of skilled nursing, or they can't privately fund in an RCFE or a CCRC. If somebody is on the Medi-Cal program, then usually they need to reside long-term in a skilled nursing facility, and then Medi-Cal will cover that stay.
All right, so now you're ready to look at possible communities. How do you best move forward? The best way to move forward is to find a local senior housing specialist. And you want to work with a specialist who knows your county and the communities in your area. Choose someone who will meet with you or your loved one. When we meet and assess with our clients, it really helps us understand more who the individual is, what their care needs are, and what is most important to them. Choose a specialist who will tour with you. Many people they have the option of either touring with or without a specialist, but because we know you, we can really act as your advocate as you tour communities, and we can answer questions as you go. Engage with an agent who can offer a network of vetted support and resources. This is huge. I know Juliane has spent over 20 years building relationships with respected professionals that our clients benefit from every day. And another word of advice is that it's okay to go online, but just don't give your personal information out to anybody online. Many times online agencies are not located in your area. They don't meet with you, they don't tour with you. They're unaware of the differences between the types of communities and what's near you. And they will most likely not supply you with a full list of options, because more and more communities are choosing not to work with online agencies because they do not work as closely with the families as the local resources do. And furthermore, they make life difficult for you and for local and more supportive services like us to help you. Okay. So how to approach touring. So you've met with a placement specialist, and now you've selected a few communities you want to reach out to for a visit. Here are some helpful hints. Be curious and treat this process as an opportunity and an adventure. Remember, this is not, there's no crisis here, and so relax and try to enjoy yourself. Because knowledge is power, take notes, start a file, and take them on tour, take your notebook with you. And I also suggest taking pictures or photos of the apartments you see, because sometimes if you've seen a lot of communities, it's hard to remember which apartments went with which community. Let people know what you're expecting. That way everybody who is helping you can better be in a better position to answer your questions and help you achieve your goals. And with that said, we oftentimes help people navigate their expectations and manage them. Just remember, no place is perfect, but there is a place for everyone. And always remember, as in life, attitude is everything. So stay positive, be curious, ask questions, and engage yourself with others when you see them when you're on tour. Talk to residents and families and ask them questions. What's it like to live here? How are the activities? What's the care like? And how is the food? Food's really important. And then also, make it your decision. It's a simple statement, but it's really important to remember. And because when you're making your decision, there are oftentimes a lot of voices that are in play here and weighing in with opinions. And it's very important to stay authentic to what your decision is and what is important to you. And if you are a loved one and your loved one is making the decision for their move, just remember to be mindful and supportive and respect that this is their choice.
So I'm going to talk about how the process works during COVID. Touring has changed a bit. Communities actually have responded by creating video presentations so they can email families to show the common areas in the apartments that are available. Communities are also doing FaceTime tours. Some communities are doing in-person tours. Sometimes also it's a limited number of people that can tour. They only want 1 or 2 people coming in to tour at any given time. So it's important to ask, if you want to view the community or tour the community, you need to ask each community how they're handling tours, because it does vary from community to community. But people are moving into assisted living and other types of living situations. Movers are allowed. Sometimes it's only 2 movers, and sometimes they're coming through a back entrance, but the communities are making it possible for movers to come in to set up an apartment and get somebody ready to move into their new home. Life at communities and care homes, it's different now than it was prior to March, but communities are moving forward and reintroducing activities and dining. Activities have a more limited group of residents attending them. And of course, the residents wear masks and they're socially distanced. Dining is now just starting to resume, where they're filling just a percentage of their dining room. So they're trying to stagger meals and have different seatings for residents. So those who do want to come down to the dining room have the opportunity to do so safely. Otherwise, residents can get meals delivered to their rooms. As far as seeing loved ones goes, many communities are now starting to have scheduled visits outside, and they're scheduled with families so that the community can make sure that each family gets to visit in privacy, and they have a time slot to be able to visit, and then they can schedule this throughout the day. Some communities are allowing on-site visits, but again, these are really important questions to ask when you tour to find out the community that you have most interest in, how they're operating in regards to all these factors. So what are communities doing? Well, they are allowing essential visitors. Essential visitors would be considered doctors, nurses, home health specialists, so that might be a therapist, a PT, an OT, a nurse, and hospice agencies are essential visitors. Non-essential visitors were considered family and friends, but the communities have really acknowledged that family and friends are very important and vital to the happiness and well-being of the residents in these communities. Many communities have bought iPads, and they're assisting residents in doing FaceTime visits with their family. And then, like I said, they're all coming up with protocols now for visits, whether it's outside or inside the community. When you move into a community, they were doing a 14-day new resident quarantine where meals and care would come to the apartment where you are for the first 14 days. Now, some communities with a negative COVID test moving in, they'll retest somebody once they're in. And if that COVID test comes back negative, then they're allowing the resident to flow about the community, to go out of their room and not maintain that whole 14-day quarantine. Staff in communities are tested on a regular basis. Weekly, they'll test they'll COVID test a percentage of the staff. Temperature screening is done for everybody who's coming in the building, along with a self-evaluation form related to COVID. The communities keep a daily log of everybody that enters and exits the community. And masking and social distancing are required. We talked about dining and activities. Those are starting to happen. It looks a little different at different communities, and they've really stepped up their cleaning and sanitizing. In terms of COVID resources, I want to make a note that when COVID hit, there was just a lot of press about certain senior living communities. Many of them were skilled nursing facilities versus assisted livings. Assisted livings have had issues with COVID, but what I'm noticing now as communities are getting more education and information from the Department of Health is that they're isolating cases very quickly, contract tracing to keep residents and staff safe. The county health department, your county health department, is a great place to start to get COVID information. The community care licensing, which is the Department of Social Services, which licenses these RCFEs, they have information, as does the CDC. And assisted living communities have corporate protocols as well. So communities are assimilating information from all these departments when they're coming up with their own COVID protocol.
All right. So there are also many helpful local resources available in your county, and here are a few. Your local area agency on the aging is a very helpful resource for seniors and their families. Ombudsmen function as advocates for people either in skilled nursing facilities or residential care facilities for the elderly, RCFEs. The Alzheimer's Association is a great resource for people and caregivers whose loved ones have a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. The Family Caregivers Alliance support caregivers and those who are receiving care. Day programs are really instrumental in helping people with especially with cognitive decline who are at home with a caregiver. These are places where they can go for engagement and socialization, which really helps helps them and also brings structure to their week. It also helps the caregiver who can benefit from the time of respite and they're able to care for themselves. There's local senior centers are a wonderful resource for people who are living independently and in communities. I have clients who moved into communities who are supplementing their activities program by going to the senior centers for acting classes and painting and dance classes, all those things. So lots of opportunities there. Local support groups are really beneficial for caregivers who are caring for or those experiencing cognitive decline, Parkinson's, or other illnesses. For 5 years, while my mother was going through her journey with dementia, I had a wonderful support group that I participated in, and it was invaluable. It was a lifesaver. And I'm still friends with many of the people there. I could really show up and hear stories, tell my story, and really not feel alone, and that they really did understand what I was going through. So it's very beneficial. And Juliane spoke about the Veterans Aid and Attendance assistance for those who might be eligible for financial aid. So in summary, take advantage of the opportunity of there not being a crisis right now. Be proactive and learn what options are available to you. Be open, curious, and positive. Research local and supportive resources that might be available to you. And be aware of how COVID might be affecting those options that you're interested in. And if you haven't already had the conversation with those you love, now's the time. So we want to thank you, and that's it. And we look forward to answering questions.
Juliane and Helen, thank you so much. That was awesome. And where were you a year ago when I needed you?
We hear that a lot.
Yeah, you know, a couple of follow-up questions before, you know, we have a little bit of time left. I'm wondering if you guys at first could kind of walk through your process a little bit more, you know, how you kind of step into a relationship with a client, with a family, with an older adult who's made the decision, I want to figure out what's next. And like, how do you assess the situation? How do you do the matchmaking? Can you share a little bit more detail there?
You want to start with that, Helen? I'll chime in.
Thanks.
You know, every family is so different and every situation is so different. And many times if there is disagreement in what's happening, sometimes we will bring in kind of a third party, a care manager to help, or some kind of person that can come in and help be more like a mediator. But if that's not needed, you know, we will really sit down. And I know with my own experience with my mom, when Juliane came and talked with us, my mom had a master's in gerontology, and she was always very clear that she wanted to move into a community, but when time came, she was resistant. And so Juliane came over and talked with my mom in a way that resonated with her, because it wasn't family talking to her. It wasn't me, it wasn't my brother, it wasn't anybody else telling her, you know, what we thought. And it was a voice of understanding, knowledge, and empathy, and understanding, and experience. And she really, that resonated with her. So I think a lot of times we can come in and be that person who gives the information. It's not scary, it's informational, it's empowering. It really is. And I think that's where we come at it, is to really help people understand what their options are. And when it's broken down, you know, it's pretty clear. I don't know.
Yeah, that's great. And I want to address the question that is up on the chat about the cost of care. It ranges, it's a big swing. And this is something that we talk to every family about. We talk to them about the location that they're interested in, and we talk to them about a budget. The care homes, the board and care homes can range. They do offer shared and private rooms, mostly private rooms. If you're looking at a private room in a board and care, the range is going to be anywhere from about $5,000 to $7,000 a month. It can go higher than that depending on the home and the service is needed. But that's the average swing for a board and care. Shared rooms, maybe 4 to 4,500 in a board and care. When you're looking at assisted living, a lot of the studio apartments, and actually right now is a great time to move into assisted living because they're offering incentives for people to move in during this pandemic. So a lot of communities have rolled their rates back, and we're seeing studios as low as $3,500 a month. And remember that that does include 3 meals a day, activities, housekeeping, laundry, transportation. There's a lot of amenities and services that are included in that rent, in addition to utilities. So studio apartments, I would say on average range from maybe $3,000 to $4,500 a month. They can go a little higher than that for a large studio. I would say 1 bedroom start around $5,000 a month and maybe go from $5,000 to $6,000 a month. And 2 bedrooms start at 6 and maybe go from 6 to 7. Keep in mind that if it's a couple, they have a second person occupancy fee, and that is around $1,000. So you have the apartment rent, you have the second person fee, and then you have any care fees if needed. So if you're somebody who needs a lot of help and you're looking at a community and you take a studio at $3,500, what's the care fee range? Well, that can range anywhere from $500 a month to $3,000 a month if you need a lot of help. So that takes that $3,500 apartment and your total rent might be $6,500. And this is where we talk to families also about if you're a high care need, is assisted living the best fit, or would a smaller care home be a better fit? But we take into account factors like socialization and food and need for privacy. So even though it seems like a lot of information that we presented, we really sort of break it down for families. We ask the right questions so that we can help them come up with a list that's manageable as far as touring goes. But I want to finish on memory care pricing. The more common model in memory care is a shared room. Some people are adamant about private rooms, but a lot of studies have showed that people do quite well with the comfort and the presence of another person in a memory care setting. In any event, I would say that the shared rooms range from maybe $4,000 to $5,000 a month. The private rooms can be $7,000 to $10,000 a month. Plus, it can get more expensive than that. So there's kind of ranges around what I'm saying. The bottom of the market, if you say, well, I don't have very much money, can I get in anywhere with $3,000? And the answer is yes. Helen and I can flush out the communities that are lower cost, still providing good care. So it does range considerably. And we definitely talk to families about budget and finances so that we can give them the list that's appropriate for or affordable for them.
Yeah, and on that note, I just want to chime in that getting back to kind of the vetted professional resource network that Juliane and CareQuest has in place, if we can't handle or we can't address your needs in our area, say financial, if we can't find anything in our area that is right for you financially, we can look elsewhere and refer you to our colleagues out in different counties that can help you. Because a lot of times going away from the Bay Area, costs can go down. And some families are just willing to make that choice to have their loved one or to move outside the area so they can have the assistance, but at less cost.
Hey, can you guys give us a sense for how long the process takes, really? To, once you kind of sit down with a client and start, assessing the needs and understanding kind of appetites and interests and starting to create that list. How long it takes to make a decision and to kind of.
We can help somebody in 24 hours. It's not ideal. This is the crisis-driven hospital limited choice type path. But we've had to do this in as little as 24 hours in the past. More typically, if somebody's in the hospital or skilled nursing, it's a quicker time frame. That's what Helen was talking about in the beginning. So it might be 3 days to 2 weeks. But if somebody is calling and they're not in a crisis situation, it can be anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months.
Yeah, it is so personal. It's that's the getting back to my statement, when the phone rings, we never know what's going to be happening. And, we're ready for anything. And, but I have families that I'm working with that I've been working with for a year, and now they're just ready. So it really, we can work as fast or as slow really as needed. It's just most important to get the information needed at that point. And even when if I've started working with a family a year ago, needs might have changed. So new information needs to be generated either within the family or even the community at large. There may be another resources in other communities that might be appropriate. So it's all timing, It really is.
It's great. I mean, I think my big takeaway is, while we're in a position to be active and to be proactive, take advantage of the time now and start to map out at least a plan for assessing what the opportunities are, what the options are, and how to figure out what might be right for you down the road. Yeah. And I can't thank you guys enough for participating today and for walking us through the options. I've really enjoyed connecting with you and getting to know you guys, and looking forward to further collaborations down the road. If people have questions, or if I have questions moving forward, maybe you can share with folks like how to get in touch with you, or if that's okay, like your website or any contact info.
So the best way to track us down is through our website, which is carequest.us. So we only cover Contra Costa and Alameda counties. It is carequest.us, and if you even just Google CareQuest, we will likely come up. And like I said, we have offices in Walnut Creek and Oakland. My email is Juliane. It's my first name, Juliane @carequest.us. And then Helen is Helen@carequest.us. But the easiest thing is just pull up the website and you can track us down from there.
Great. And of course, anybody can contact myself as well at jon@hiyaplaces.com. And I'm happy to pass on or retrieve any information or answer any questions that you might have as well. For those who might know people who want to revisit this webinar, we've recorded it. So for your convenience, if you want to go back and check out something that was said earlier in the hour, you'll be able to do that over the next 24 hours, or you feel free to share that news with a friend, because it'll always be up at the Hiya Places website. I also want to let folks know that we've got a whole range of additional healthy at home workshops coming up, from cooking to gardening, to a wide variety of subjects and interests. So encourage everybody to check out and sign up for future sessions. Again, Juliane and Helen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I look forward to reconnecting with you guys soon.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.